What happens when the world's biggest economies start punishing each other with massive taxes on trade? In 2025, that question isn't just theory, it's reality. With Donald Trump back in the White House, tariffs are rising fast, and global trade is being turned upside down. From skyrocketing prices on everyday products to collapsing exports and angry allies, the effects are impossible to ignore. Countries are reacting, economies are shaking, and regular people are paying the price. So, what's really going on, and who's feeling it the most? Let's dive into it. The return of tariffs. What changed in 2025? In 2025, trade wars have exploded back into global headlines with Donald Trump's return to the U.S. presidency. One of his first major actions was hiking tariffs, taxes on imports, to levels the world hasn't seen in decades. Chinese goods now face a 145% tariff, while the U.S. also slapped 10% to 25% tariffs on many other countries. These changes didn't happen slowly. They came fast and caught many businesses off guard. From electronics to everyday essentials, prices began to rise. Trump's reasoning? He says tariffs protect American jobs and industries, but critics argue that they hurt global cooperation and make life more expensive for regular people. The big question now is, can the global economy survive this pressure? U.S. versus China. The biggest fight in the trade war continues to be between the United States and China. With a 145% tariff on Chinese goods, the U.S. has made importing from China extremely expensive. China struck back, placing 125% tariffs on American products. That means things like smartphones, furniture, and farming equipment now cost a lot more for people in both countries. For companies that rely on international parts or products, this creates huge challenges. Some American businesses, like toy and tech suppliers, expect to pay over $100 million more in tariff costs this year alone. Meanwhile, talks between the two countries have stalled. There are no signs of easing tensions, making it one of the most intense U.S.-China standoffs in modern trade history. Canada and Mexico. Canada and Mexico, America's closest neighbors and trading partners, aren't spared from the trade war. On February 1, 2025, the U.S. hit most of their imports with 25% tariffs. The only exceptions were Canadian oil and energy, taxed at 10%. However, not all goods were treated equally. Items that followed the rules of the USMCA trade agreement got a delay on tariffs, but others didn't. Canada was quick to respond with 25% tariffs on $30 billion worth of U.S. goods. Mexico hasn't retaliated yet, but is preparing countermeasures. Canadian leaders say they feel betrayed, and nearly 91% of Canadians now support reducing their dependence on U.S. trade. This once friendly relationship is starting to feel like a tense competition. Europe and India. The impact of Trump's trade policies reaches far beyond North America. In April 2025, the U.S. placed a 10% tariff on imports from most countries, including key partners like the European Union and India. These new taxes may seem smaller than the ones on China or Mexico, but they still create major waves. European car makers, Indian textile exporters, and electronics producers everywhere now face higher costs when selling to the U.S. In response, some countries are thinking about their own tariffs, while others are taking their cases to the World Trade Organization. As global supply chains shake, smaller economies worry they might be pushed out of the market. In this expanding trade war, no one feels safe anymore. How Ukraine and Russia are impacted. Even countries not directly involved in the trade war are feeling its effects. Russia, for example, depends heavily on oil exports. But due to the global tension and slowing economies, oil prices have dropped nearly 15%. This hurts Russia's budget, especially its military spending in Ukraine. Although the U.S. hasn't added new tariffs on Russia because of existing sanctions, The economic pressure is still strong. On the other hand, Ukraine, a major grain exporter, is struggling too. With global trade slowing down, it's harder to find buyers for their crops. This adds more stress to a country already burdened by war. The world may be focused on tariffs, but for Ukraine and Russia, the consequences run even deeper and more dangerous. The consumer cost. Trade wars may sound like a government issue, but regular people feel the pain most. When countries tax imports, businesses pass the cost on to customers. That means the phone you want to buy or the toy your child loves could now cost a lot more. In 2025, it's estimated that tariffs will add nearly $1,300 in extra costs for the average U.S. household. And it's not just gadgets. Food, clothes, and cars are more expensive too. For families trying to stick to a budget, this adds real pressure. Even companies are feeling uncertain. Some are laying off workers or putting investments on hold. When trade slows down, it doesn't just affect billion-dollar firms. It hits wallets at every level. How it all started in 2018. To understand the 2025 trade wars, we need to rewind to 2018. That's when Donald Trump first launched a wave of tariffs against China, accusing them of unfair practices like stealing technology and forcing U.S. companies to share secrets. The U.S. started with tariffs on $34 billion worth of goods, but that grew to more than $300 billion. China responded by taxing U.S. soybeans and cars, badly hurting American farmers. The government had to give farmers $12 billion in aid to keep them afloat. This early trade war created uncertainty in global markets and disrupted supply chains. Even after it cooled down, the damage lingered. Now, in 2025, those same tensions are back. Only this time, they're even more intense. Global markets in chaos. In 2025, global markets are facing serious turbulence. Stock markets in Asia, Europe, and the U.S. have seen sharp drops reflecting investor fears. Companies that depend on international trade, like tech, auto, and farming sectors, are especially nervous. Many businesses are holding back on investment and expansion due to the unpredictable nature of tariffs. Small companies in particular are struggling with rising costs and disrupted supply chains. Confidence is at a low point, with many leaders unsure how to plan for the future. Until stability returns, the world economy may continue to slow, putting millions of jobs at risk. The political gamble. Trump's aggressive tariff strategy in 2025 is more than just economic policy. It's a bold political move. Supporters say it protects American jobs and forces trading partners to play fair. Critics argue it raises prices for consumers and hurts global relationships. With elections approaching, this gamble could either boost his image as a strong leader or backfire if economic pain spreads. Polls show mixed reactions, with some Americans favoring tough trade talk, while others worry about inflation and job losses. Ultimately, this trade war is as much about politics as economics, and its outcome may shape the next presidency. What's next? The future of global trade. The road ahead for global trade in 2025 is uncertain. While some experts believe partial tariff rollbacks might happen, a full return to normal looks unlikely. U.S.-China tensions remain high, and other nations are forming new partnerships to avoid relying on America. The World Trade Organization is working to resolve disputes, but progress is slow. More countries are turning to regional trade deals instead of global ones. If this continues, we may see a divided trade system where cooperation becomes harder. The decisions made now will shape economies, prices, and global relationships for years to come. Trade wars in 2025 are more than political headlines. They're shaping how the world does business and how much we all pay. As tariffs rise and tensions grow, the global economy faces new risks and challenges. Whether you're a consumer, business owner, or policymaker, the impact is real. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more clear breakdowns of complex global issues. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay informed and stay curious.